the meetings. And we have some training program directors. So we flew solo for just over a year, and Jonathan very kindly subbed in as our interim training program director while we were without consultants. So we were really excited to have Bridget and Olu join the team. So Olu had previously been with us and then left to focus on her program management and rejoined us at the beginning of this year. And Bridget, was college tutor at Great Ormond Street, has become a new training program director with our subgroup and focusing on sort of placements as well. So we're really, really excited to have them on board this year. So what do we do? So Nisha, at the beginning of the year, sort of tasked us with thinking about our aims and what do we do? And Audrey came up with this really nice analogy that we've sort of adopted: the dram spreaders of the London School of Paediatrics, getting the good stuff to every corner. And we think our mission statement was to facilitate feedback, to inspire innovation, and to empower trainee-led excellence. And when we thought about this as a group, we thought, what do we do? How do we define ourselves compared to other subgroups? Because we sort of kind of have a finger in every pie, I think, in the Everyday Excellence subgroup. And what we really thought is kind of our mission is to focus on the training, the everyday training that's happening in the trusts, the everyday lives of trainees and trainers, and the patient care they're giving, and how do we sort of reach that web and that network out to make sure that every trainee, that every training centre is involved and is constantly striving for the excellence in paediatric training that we know we deliver across London. So we facilitate feedback via the school survey and from the trust reps. We think about examples of excellence across the region, and then we aim to spread them around. We inspire and empower trainees to drive improvements in their own training locally, and then we support trusts to deliver this outstanding training. So that's all well and good, but how do we actually do this? So what we had done for a long time as the quality assurance subgroup was the London School of Paediatric Trainees survey. This was a baby of our predecessor, Raj, who came to it in 2012 and has sort of really developed. We now have a company called Data Syrup who helps us with the analysis, and we've really sort of drilled it down to things that we think are, or that we know are valuable to training, that tie in with excellent patient care. And I think this is a real success story. You can see across the last 8 years of training, including in 2020, we know the year of the pandemic, that well over 80% of trainees are reporting their placements as good as excellent, up from 60% 8 years ago. And the percentage of people reporting a poor or below average experience has gone down. So I think this is something that us as a school can be really proud of. And it's really nice to see these numbers come back every year, but to constantly pick at the little bits where we know we're not doing so well, so that we're just constantly driving that improvement in the day-to-day training of trainees. So the survey is coming out in August this year. Massive plea, please remind everyone in your trusts to do it. We take a lot of care and effort to report quite detailed trust and placement level data, and we can only do that if we get good numbers. So if you, as a college tutor, as a trust rep, want good quality data coming back to you from the survey, please encourage your trainees to fill it in. On that note, now the ARCP time is over, I'm going to do a quick recce sort of before we send out the survey this year about if there's anything that particularly as a college tutor or a director of medical education or a training program director that you feel you're not getting the survey. Not a specific question, but is there a question that you would like to know and you don't feel is answered? Please get in touch with me and I'll put my email in the chat and we can think about how we can address that if it's a common issue. So then about 2-3 years ago now, we thought, okay, we've reported on this and we've kind of drilled the survey down to something that's been working well and reporting data for quite a while, but how can we use this data? And we thought about lots of ways to do it, and we sort of came up with this, the Excellence Exchange. So the idea is that we look at a particular trust's survey data, and we're kind of thinking about what these trusts are doing really, really well, and then how we can share that around the region. And while we're going sort of into the trust, we're also thinking about what are the areas they would like to improve, what how could you be doing better? Again, slightly based on survey data, but also based on feedback from the trainees and trainers at that centre. And then we think about how we as a London School of Paediatrics can support you to do that. And a lot of it is about linking up with people who've done other things across London, or things that have worked well in similar types of placements, or people who've had similar issues, and just forging those networks. I think when we came at this, we recognised we were really good at kind of our little kind of sector networks, but actually we weren't always that great at kind of reaching out across the region and thinking about who might have issues in South East London and North West London, and how they came together. And that's how this idea was really born. And Margot leads on this and has done an excellent job. This is where we visited so far. So UCH were our pilot, and then we went to Woolwich and Hillingdon in the before. And then we had a bit of hiatus, because one of the really lovely things was it's about not being essential. It wasn't everyone coming to Stuart House, everyone coming to Russell Square. It was about us going out and seeing trusts in the wild, seeing sort of firsthand what were the issues. Why couldn't you get a rest place? And it's so much easier when you could see the department that people working in. And it was a real shame to lose that in COVID. But we persevered, and Homerton, and we're going to hear from Tammy in a bit, really kindly volunteered to be our digital pilot. And actually that was really successful. And I think one of the nice things was that you got a lot of input from people in the department who might otherwise not have made it. You tend to, when you come into a trust and don't do anything digitally, get the people who are in that day, but not everyone else. We got a really good turnout, both at Homerton and Norfolk Park, who we visited last week, and hopefully that was productive. So what's next? So we've been sort of kind of taking stock as a group and thinking about where we can go with this. So some of the things we're planning are how to, now we're getting some data and some information out of the excellence exchanges, how to spread that around. And we're gonna, we've got an area of the website now, and we're thinking about kind of innovative ways that we can present that to kind of increase these links, both digitally and in person. So if you say want to do a quality improvement project on clinics, you can have a look on the School of Paediatrics website and be like, oh yeah, someone did that really well at Kingston. I can get in touch with them. And it's about facilitating that sort of network building across the region. We're also thinking about specific areas where training isn't so good. So say, for instance, getting to outpatient clinics that we know lots and lots of trusts struggle with. And we're thinking about kind of projects. And it's been really exciting to kind of link up with the innovation group for this talk, because I think they're really good at thinking outside the box, about thinking bold. And it's been really fascinating to see how they work. So I'm really excited about their bit of the chat too. So final plea, we'd love to run some more exchanges. We're kind of getting our digital format kind of up and running. So if you would like to run the exchange in your trust, please email Margot and I'll pop her email in the chat as well. So if you're a trust rep or a college tutor, please get in touch. We'd love to come and see you. So thanks very much.
Thanks, Alex. That was really nice. Hopefully that's really clear about what we are as a group. We're still running a little bit ahead of time, but I think I spied that Tammy is here. If you are Tammy, then if you're happy to start. Yeah, you're happy to start a little bit early, because then that would be great, and then we can kind of carry on running ahead. So hi, we've not met in person. Hi. So Tammy's going to speak to us about some of the feedback from the Homerton Exchange and what they've done to try and ensure excellence in their training. So I will hand over to Tammy.
Thank you. I'll just share my slides, if you can just give me a moment.
Just while Tammy's loading that up, give her a bit of breathing space to do that. Has anyone got any questions for Alex or anyone else on the Everyday Excellence group? Or comments about what they do? I mean, have you noticed them doing anything? Have you spotted the jam arriving on your piece of toast?
I had jam on my toast this morning, and it was very well spread. And I think it's all to do with the fact that we were having this great day today. So, you know.
Hi, can you see a single slide there?
Yes, we can,
Right.
Tammy.
Okay.
Okay, we'll maybe get some questions when you've finished your session.
that-
It might work actually better. Actually, we do that, and then we can have a kind of excellence exchange extravaganza. Everyday excellence. I like the way they've even got the same initials there. It's very easy. Good. Okay, all yours, Tammy.
Thank you. Oh, hang on. Is this going to work? So, just an opening, really, to sort of put in what is an excellent exchange and what we understood by it. So we were very pleased to be invited to be part of an excellence exchange, because our understanding was that it's an opportunity for us to do exactly what the Everyday Excellence team sets out to do, which is to use the information we have from the survey, combined with the sort of knowledge we've got on the ground here, to look at what we do well, and also take a good, clear look at the things that we could do better, and then use that to help share back and forth between the whole region, to drive excellence forward. So that was very much what we saw behind it, and it helped that we had Sarah Eigener from UCLH had presented the kind of one of the profile early ones, and we could really see what the advantage would be for us and why we wanted to be involved. Now, the timeline was a little bit delayed due to world events, so we were invited in February and immediately said, yes, great, set up a date, May 2020. And by the 18th of March, LSP very wisely, before the official name pandemic had been named, could see the waters coming in very quickly and said everything's on hold. And also very wisely, in my opinion, modified the trainee survey in July, August, so that we then had some new data to work with for when we then did eventually the sort of what I'm calling the hybrid, because it was digital and face-to-face excellence exchange in November. And what really appealed to me about the excellence exchange was this bringing together of the data from the LSP survey with what we're doing on the ground. And so that data was really important, because also what we've done was we've been looking at the data over the previous years and looking at what we wanted to do better on and building that into what we were doing. So I think that I just wanted to emphasize the role here of the data and driving us to deliver what we did. So in the run-up, we were extremely well supported by the Excellence Exchange, by Margot and by Alex, who gave sort of really good support to us in identifying what we would need to do and when. And we had a very enthusiastic team of trainees who went away to discuss with the trainees what were the themes of what we wanted to work on. What were the things that we were proud of here that we wanted to do well, and what were the challenges? I think it was also important that we generated advertising. In the first few minutes of this meeting, Nisha was talking about advertising being important in bringing people in, and that's advertising not just in the form of posters, but also really just sort of the energy. Because what really came across to me from the pilot one presented by Sarah was the energy you can get when you're bringing trainees and trainers together to look at what's good. Because I think it's quite important that it's a shared approach, and a lot of the trainers, and as a college tutor, I'm kind of one of the trainer body. I'm also aware of how the trainers could be energized by this event. So that was part of the energy that went into the advertising, the timeline. Catering was a disappointment. We were thwarted in our attempt to bring cake, but it's coming back. I mean, I think it's absolutely essential in anything that you're organising that we bring nutrition and treats to make it part of the pleasure of something like this. But unfortunately, we were thwarted. Booking space as well, just to talk about, because it was hybrid, was we set aside two locations so we could have socially distanced meetings, and also a way to bring in sort of the Teams meeting as well. So the actual how it worked on the day was that we had two groups of people and a third group who was the digital space, who joined us by Microsoft Teams, and that helped us when we were doing breakout and discussion, that we had free spaces where conversations were happening, two that were face to face, and the third one that was the shared group of the people who were digital, which I've already said. So on the day, you know, I'd love to share the things that we were very proud of, and I will show a little slide afterwards about that. But I think it's also about bringing together the information from the London School of Paediatrics, from the data, and us presenting what we wanted to present, and then that was then followed by conversations. And just to say, for people who haven't been involved, that the whole thing was about an hour and a half on the actual day, so not a long time bite out of people's working day, but a lot of work that went into it beforehand to make that happen in that timeline. Jonathan Round was there digitally. We were very pleased to have senior, and I understand the intention is really that the very sort of senior input from the LSP is part of what's happening here, and I think that's important as well. And when I was talking to my fellow trainers, to sort of say it's not an inspection, it's a sharing of excellence, and because I think that there has been a history of things appearing to be an inspection and looking for things that are, you know, critical, rather than the framing of this, which was what are we doing well, that then allows us to shine a light in a very positive way at what are the things we can do better. So the conversations that happened were, hang on, if I can show you sort of the outcome in a way, and I can sort of tell you how we got to that. So we shared the things that we were proud of, which was showing that our satisfaction with the training program had improved year on year, including in the first winter that was affected by, including the cohort that was affected by COVID, because we upped our training in order to deliver that. And we'd had the conversations beforehand as what we wanted to base the conversations around, but we then had new conversations when we had the trainers and trainees together to look at what was rich or not about that. So these are the things that we came out with, and I sort of want to go back to the sort of the quality improvement methodology that informed what was happening here, because I talked about the data at the beginning, and this outcome here, which is what are we excellent and how do we maintain, is to build into making sure that we are doing what we want to do. So these were the things that we were proud of, which was some innovations of themed teaching weeks, the use of Trello as a shared platform, and our simulation. But this was the really important bit for me, was how do we maintain it? How do we embed it? Because some of this was innovative that happened in the context of the pandemic, informed by attitudes and intentions because of our goal to improve these. But we needed to make sure that we embed those. That was my concern as well. There's a date that's an error here. It should say November the 4th, not October. So you can also see when we were looking at how do we further develop excellence, this is the even better if. This is the what we want to do better. And it was really important that identified, and again, COVID amplified the sort of challenges for outpatient experience. So we set aside that we wanted to have specific tasks that would improve the input for trainees in outpatients. What made it challenging for us was that was followed very shortly by the next wave, and Homerton was one of the hospitals hardest hit in the second wave, and unlike in the first wave, we had a longer period of deployment with more people involved, and our whole outpatient department got upended because we were also made homeless, and it was quite disruptive for our department, which meant that the implementation of some of this has then been delayed. But we have worked on embedding the innovations and having trainee ownership of the content. But I also want to talk a little bit about what the learning was and the outcome was for the hospital educational environment as a whole, because I think that the focus on excellence, I think, has also changed and helped change in a positive way the attitudes of our trainers as well as our trainees towards what we're trying to achieve, and has provided energy such that despite the upending from the pandemic, we have built on the things that were excellent. So we have embedded the Trello further. We have built on our outpatient themed weeks and continued that and improved our feedback from that. And we've also enhanced our connections within our hospital with our education department and with other specialties. But I have to say that we have been upended by the impact of the second wave, which has sort of turned things around a bit. So I'm also hoping that this shared exchange will give an opportunity to also look at thinking about how we remain able to continue to make quality improvements when things are so dynamic. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. That was really interesting to hear it. I was just wondering if there's anyone who had any sort of questions or feedback about what they've heard about the exchanges, or anyone listening who's been involved in an exchange in their trust or from the Homerton who had any feedback they wanted to add.
I guess I can add in some feedback, which is I think that I think it's important when we're looking at excellence to also know and support ourselves in pacing ourselves, because I think that one of the challenges of excellence is that then also remains something that you then want to maintain, and I think that we need to be realistic about what we mean by everyday excellence, and support ourselves to say that it's okay to keep working towards, and that when things are quite difficult because of redeployment, that just being supportive and keeping going is also a form of excellence.
Yeah, I think that's really important, actually, that it is about maintaining the little things and kind of that idea of SMART targets, of something that's realistic and actually measurable. And it's something we're sort of slightly reflecting in the way that we've programmed today, and having sort of the think local and think global is, in order to have the big changes, you've got to get the little things right first. And so I think that's, and particularly as the jam spreaders, I think jam is a simple thing, but it tastes good if you get it all the way to the corners. So I think it's about making sure that you do get those little things, and that is something we really want to kind of emphasize with the excellence exchanges. Is it's not an inspection, it's not a visit, it's not show us your bells and whistles and all the kind of special things you roll out. It's what do you do every day that means that your trainees are getting the best experience out of their placement here, and those are the really kind of key important things. And as Alex mentioned, going forward with the website and what we're trying to create there is to just have this real database of little innovations, little things, little projects that people have done all across the London school, that we can say, oh, well, the Homerton had really great Trello boards to kind of get their teaching messages out there. Why don't we try that in Barnet, or why don't we try that in Romford or somewhere? So you can pick those really small implementable, yeah, that's something we can bring in. And also the importance of making sure that you review it and go, did that work? Is that helpful? And what can we do to make sure that we maintain that excellence? I think that's the really important thing. It's not just about saying what is a good thing that we did or what is a good thing that we could do, but actually how we're going to make sure that that outlives the trainees rotating on. Because I think often, particularly as trainees who rotate every 6 to 12 months, we can find we put something in place, or we try and start a project or an audit or a QI, and it's great for the 6 months that we're there, but then we leave and the project dies with us. So it's good to make sure that we kind of get that whole department involvement to keep those things going.
Yes, and one of the things that helped us to do this actually was we had continuity from some of our trainees who were here for over more than 6 months. I think that the importance of maintaining continuity or realistic projects in that time is really valuable. So we were able to do this because of that continuity, and also to recognise as well the high value of working with trainees and trainers for that, because the trainers are the continuity here. And I'm also reminding ourselves as trainers that we can keep in touch with our trainees even after they've left. So we've kept up some really good conversations with people who have taken that forward in their next work as well.
Tammy, thank you very much.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I think that really chimes, Tammy, with a lot of things that we've heard from, particularly from college tutors about the exchanges, is that kind of having a forum where you get so much sort of consultant and by that extension sort of management buy-in to thinking about training, and we've had that fed back a lot. It just means that continuity sort of continues. Another thing we've sort of talked about, particularly as we're kind of running the exchanges towards the end of the placement, is thinking about the sort of ST45s who are often in place for 2 years, and they're often a really good person to kind of carry on over that September when everyone seems to leave. And I think you've done that. And I just wanted to say thank you for such a brilliant presentation and for really capturing what we'd hoped to achieve with the Excellence Exchanges. So thank you, and thank you so much for volunteering to be our first in the new world.
Yeah, Tammy, you unfortunately didn't get to experience the Excellence Exchange, but the real one where we actually bring food and breakfast, which I'm sorry about that. We had a sort of we've done one since at Northwick Park, which has been a little bit hybrid because we had a mole on site and sent along another team member as well, but the rest of us joined remotely. I'd be quite interested actually if there's people that have been involved in Excellence Exchanges at the other sites where we've been to, what their perception has been, and also particularly what Tammy was talking about just now around the kind of legacy, if you want, or what's happened afterwards. And please be negative as well as positive. If you think things got worse after they came, please don't send them again. So I'd just be interested, there are other people there that have got comments from other sites as well about how it worked for them.
I think I was involved in an Everyday and an Excellence Exchange in Woolwich, but probably from the sidelines. I think one of the consultants emailed me and was just like, someone from the subgroup Everyday Excellence has emailed me about an Excellence Exchange. What do I need to do? And I was like, oh, okay, fine. So all it is about sharing. And I think it was a really valuable exercise from the feedback I got from them, because they were just like, it was just really nice to be able to talk through things with someone external who had obviously got gems of knowledge from everywhere else and have that sharing capacity really. And I think that's the strength of it, is that we do have these meetings, but we don't share all of the nitty gritty that everyone does, because like the Homerton Trello board is incredible. I really like that idea of trying to get things in. And as I thought about it, I was like, oh, we should do a positivity Trello board, and I need to learn what Trello is. And so there's all these things that can come out of it. And I think that's the main thing, is that we just share all of the great ideas, because we all will have strengths in different areas. And I know that when I go to some centres and they do things which are incredible, then when I go to the next one, I try and instigate those things there. But it's so nice just knowing that under one umbrella we're all trying to come to the common goal of getting everywhere up to 99.9%. So yeah, great. I'm
glad to hear that. Certainly when we started doing these, there was a lot of confusion about these, because they sounded like deanery visits. And as Tammy's suggested, actually getting some quite high level buy-in is really important. We went to Hillingdon, and we actually had their medical education manager come along, which actually was really, really useful. Not only had they produced buns of their own and coffee of their own, but also they brought quite a nice perspective as well, and were able to help with this. When we started doing a long time ago, previous postgraduate dean got very exercised when I said we were going to visit different sites to explore what's going on in terms of quality. And I'd used the two HE buzzwords that you can't use. They've been protected because a quality visit is HE coming to explore why no one's getting any training. And so it has a completely different connotation to this excellence exchange in there. But there still seems to be a hangover that anyone coming centrally to a trust is seen as very suspicious. So I've had to work through that one there. We're getting quite a bit of chat around the Trello.
Yeah, I'll send the link to Nisha because the one that we use for education and learning, Trello has strengths, but also it can very quickly become very overwhelming. So we worked on it and worked on it and worked on it over time until we found a version that works for the purpose of sharing learning. I also wanted to say as well that one of the outcomes of this was that one of our trainees put forward some of the work that we'd done for an internal quality improvement project poster, and we actually got highly commended. So that also allowed one of our trainees to take further work as a further quality improvement project. So I meant to mention that as an additional benefit of the Excellence Exchange was it also provided extra impetus and energy from the kind of QI methodology for more opportunities for trainees to showcase the work.
Yeah, I think that's another really important thing about the exchanges actually is that obviously we all know that we have to kind of do QI projects and audits and things as part of our training, but it can be quite difficult to get people involved in something they're passionate about. And so it's one of the other really great benefits of the exchange is if you say, okay, well, here's something we've identified, who wants to take this on as a QI project? And it's actually something that your trainees are really invested in. And so they find it a lot more interesting and valuable to get involved in. And that's also part of, you probably saw on Tammy's posters, there was like a who's going to be the exchange champion. So we try and name someone in each trust who's going to be the person to make sure that these projects are happening. And so you really get that kind of QI cycle of, you know, we've put something in place and now let's sort of reevaluate and see what we've done. Does anyone else have any questions or comments just around sort of EE in general, or anything else for me or Alex or Margot? I think is around a bit about what we do or who we are, or we can head for coffee.
I just want to feedback that I think it's fantastic to focus on excellence. I think it totally reframes how we look at things. There is the caveat that I said before that, you know, not to let excellence be the enemy of the good. And be realistic about when things are more difficult, that the excellence might be in tiny steps. But I think that it's phenomenal. So I mean, for me, from Homerton here, you know, thank you.
Yeah, I think that's also something we really wanted to make sure, and kind of echoing a bit what Jonathan was saying about it's not a visit. It's really easy, especially I've been involved before with kind of local faculty group meetings or junior senior meetings, which do just become a bit of a moaning fest. And so what we really were keen to do with the Excellence Exchanges was not sit and let's list off all the things we don't like, but actually let's sit down and be positive and think about, okay, well, what does work and how can we keep that going? And having been involved with one exchange at UCH, both as someone on the EE group, but also I was a trainee there at the time, it did have an impact on us for the rest of the day of feeling really positive about, oh yeah, we are actually quite good at these things. And it does kind of help with your general morale of thinking, yeah, there are some things we're good at actually, and let's share it around London and show off how great we are. I think unless there's any comments, sorry, Jonathan.
Yeah, we're going everywhere, aren't we? I mean, there is no trust that will be spared an Excellence Exchange. So we're gradually moving around London. We haven't quite got into the swing of doing this remote stuff. It kind of works, but it doesn't kind of work quite as well. So there's such an energy you get from actually doing it face to face, which I'm afraid, Tammy, you didn't quite get, nor did you get the buns, sorry. And I remember very much going to Woolwich, where Nisha was skiving off or whatever that day, I don't know, and all crammed into this tiny room with about 20 people, very pre-COVID, trying to work through a number of different issues in 4 different groups, all talking over the top of each other. Great fun. And then at UCL, I'd actually broken my rib on my bike on the way to that particular meeting. But again, there we all were on the floor, and there just weren't enough chairs. It was fantastic coming up with these really inventive ideas. The basic behind it is actually mostly trainees understand best how they're going to solve the problems at ground level if they're actually facilitated to do it. And that's the basis behind it. And also then the trainees will go to another site and actually can carry really good ideas, as long as that site again allows them to facilitate this happening. So I think it's coming everywhere, and we're very excited about that. I see on the chat line there's some stuff about the sharing of good ideas on the website. And how's that project coming on? Alex, are you the best person to talk to this?
Yeah, so sorry, I'm self-isolating with my sick baby, not so sick anymore. So apologies that I'm a bit in and out. Yeah, so we've got a team working on it. We've got some really great ideas of how it's going to look, and we're sort of waiting for kind of everything to get in place with the IT, and then we'll be ready to put it up. And then a plan is to kind of start uploading after each exchange, so that it can be a real resource for people trying to develop their own project.
Brilliant.
I've got to say, it has been, so I've been putting together some of the kind of things that we can put for the website, and it has been really inspiring, kind of reading through all the like great things that even the few trusts we've done so far, and go, oh, they did this, that was great, oh, look at what they did, that's great as well. So we're already getting some really kind of exciting ideas from it. So I'm really looking forward to being able to get that live on the website so that everyone else can benefit from it too. I think on that happy note, it's time for coffee. So if everyone could be back ready to go by 20 past, so if you kind of make sure you're ready in your chair by 18 minutes past, and then we will have some more chats afterwards. Enjoy your coffee break, everybody.
Cheers, thank you. How many did we get to, Nisha? You're on mute.
I think we got to 43 the last time I looked.
Oh, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah. I think it's the most attended so far.
Okay, well, they'll all go off somewhere else now.
Yeah, no, I'm sure they will, but they will come back. They'll come back. It's fine.
Come back. That's right. I need to make some coffee, don't I? I think I'm doing the first bit.
You are indeed doing the next one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, get some coffee.